our first look at the all-new 2023 Perodua Axia. Yes, they are retaining the Axia name. Now, if you look at the previous models, they've gone from the Kanchil into the Viva into the Axia. So this is the first time they are retaining the exact same name for a new version of this A segment sedan. Perodua says that Axia name has become a household name, so they are retaining the name, which I think is a very good decision. You know, Myvi has gone through 3 generations so far, the Alza has gone through 2 generations, so yeah, it's a good thing that they are following the same trend for the Axia as well. Now, as you can see, there is still a full or rather half camo on this car, but we've seen the real thing, and you know what? I think it looks pretty decent. It definitely looks a lot more premium, a lot nicer than the old car. So this is what we can show you so far. I'll show you the inside as well, but let's just run through what this car is all about. So this is based on a brand new platform, the DNGA platform, basically the same platform that's on the latest Ativa as well as the Alza. So right now, Perodua's cheapest model has the same advanced new platform as its more expensive models as well, and it really shows in the way this car drives. I've taken a few minutes behind the wheel on this car, which I'll tell you in a little bit, but in short, it is just a massive improvement compared to the old car. So let's just talk about the whole car in general. This is quite significantly a bigger car compared to the first generation Axia. Overall, it's about 100 millimeters, about 10 cm longer than before that. Is quite substantial. And it's also bigger in pretty much every dimension. It's longer, it's wider, it's taller as well. So interior space is slightly better than before. Even the wheelbase has been stretched by around 70 millimeters. So this is quite a fair bit bigger than the old car. You probably can't see it as clearly because this car is fully, camoed up so far, but in real life, I think it's closer to the Myvi than the previous gen Axia. Now let's go back to the front. I'll talk you through the styling. So at the front, you see you've got big chunky headlights. I'm sorry if you can't really see it because it's all camoed up right now, but yeah, these are full LED headlights available for the first time on the Axia. Unfortunately, this is only on the top 2 models. The base models will get halogen reflectors, but you know what? The LED lights look really good. You've also got LED positioning lamps down here and down there, LED DRLs. Now this is a feature that's missing even on the Ativa and the Alza, and yet it's available on the Axia right here. I think that is really cool. Now the center grille over here is really big, and you've got a center chrome line down the center over here. I think it looks pretty cool. You've got a lot of X marks all around the cars. I think overall it really is quite a mature looking car. So on the side, you've got these 14-inch alloy wheels. These are the exact same, doesn't matter which variant you choose, whether the base model or the top model, it's exactly the same. And at least you're getting pretty, good quality tires over here. These are Toyo Proxys CR1 tires, pretty good. Now, because this is based on the DNGA, there's a lot of shared parts between this and the Ativa and Alza. One shared part is this, the door handle. So the Axia now gets this much nicer electrostatic sensor for the keyless entry system. This is as opposed to the much old school button type on the Myvi and the older Axia as well. So in certain ways, the Axia, Perodua's cheapest model, even has slightly better features even compared to the Myvi, which is pretty amazing in my books. Now, on the side, you can't really see the detailings, the character lines, but I'll tell you there's this one thick protruding line over here, and there is a big sweeping line from here going up. It's a much more organic, much more substantial looking car overall, I would say. And if you go from the side, you can see that this is the C-pillar. The C-pillar has a bit of a sloping shape as well, whereas the old Axia was pretty much straight cut from the back. Here, it has a bit of an angle closer to the more modern European style hatchbacks like the current Myvi is. I think it looks nicer, more stylish as well. At the back here, again, sorry you can't see much, but the taillights are this tall vertical pieces. It looks almost as if it's the same outer lights as the current Myvi without the inner section that's inside over here. Yeah, it's probably not the best angle for the Axia, to be honest, because the lights just look a little bit too small, a little bit too cornered on one side, a bit too tall and awkward as well. But as a whole, it really does feel a lot more expensive compared to the original Axia. We have photos of the new car and the old car side by side, and yeah, it just looks like 2-3 generations ahead. This car just feels a lot bigger, a lot more expensive, a lot more premium as well. Now let's talk about pricing. The pricing will go around 40 to 50,000 ringgit, whereas the old car went from around, if not mistaken, is around 25,000 to about 44,000 ringgit. So there is quite a big jump there. But that is only because there is now no more manual version of the brand new Axia. They will do a manual Axia later on, but for now, this version will only come with a CVT transmission. That's why the pricing starts around 40,000 ringgit. So between, if you compare model to model, it's around 3,000 to 4,000 ringgit move up, increase from the old Axia into the new Axia. But you know what? It is a much bigger car. Every single variant gets a lot more features. In terms of value, you get a lot more value with the new car, and I really agree with that. Now I'm going to show you the inside as well. So camera, let's show from the left side. Now, does this look like a dashboard of a cheap car? I certainly don't think so. If anything, this is, to me, the nicest Perodua design I've seen for an interior yet. To me, it even looks nicer than what we've seen on the Ativa and the Alza. I mean, minus off all the fancy red bits on the Alza, on the Ativa, I think this just looks nicer. This looks sporty, this looks modern. It really does look really cool. You've got this thick silver bar running across, makes the whole cabin look a lot wider than it actually is. And yeah, I just cannot believe that this is the cabin of the brand new Axia. Now again, because it's a DNGA product, you've got a lot of shared parts, and that includes this brand new steering, same one as on the Ativa and Alza. It looks really good. A lot of buttons on the side. You've also got a fully digital instrument cluster, can you believe it, on an Axia right there. Same one as on the Ativa and the Alza as well. Down here, you've got the same aircon controls on the Myvi, Ativa, Alza and so on. And you've got the same big screen that you do in the Ativa and the Alza as well. But unfortunately, this is not an Apple CarPlay Android Auto unit. You still need a HDMI cable to hook up your phone. But then again, this is, an entry-level car, so I don't think that's too big of a problem. Now, moving further on, you've got the start button over here. Still a handbrake, of course. This doesn't have an EPB, electronic parking brake, like on the top spec Alza, and there is no center armrest. But I think you gotta, adjust your expectations a little bit. This is still an entry-level product, and for that, I think you do get a lot for your money with this Axia. All you have to do is compare what you get now versus what you used to get in the previous Axia. The difference is just night and day. Okay, what else can I show you? The key fob looks the same as the latest Myvi, Ativa and so on. Nicer than before. The gear lever is also a shared DNGA product, and you've got a central locking button over here, so it's easy to lock or unlock the car even if you're a front passenger. This gearbox, I'll tell you, it's a DCVT, which is the same unit that's in the Ativa and now on the Alza and the Myvi as well. It's a really good one if your only experience of a CVT is with proton punch CVTs. You just need to banish the entire experience of all that and drive a proper modern CVT on a new Perodua. I think you will like it. Now up front, the engine is exactly the same as the previous Axia, 1 litre 3-cylinder naturally aspirated engine. So unfortunately there is no turbo. Yeah, the rumors were not true apparently. So it's the same engine as before, but I've driven this car for about 10 kilometers and it is a much nicer experience compared to the previous generation Axia. The refinement is significantly better. You still get the same gruff, rough noise, the voice of a 3-cylinder engine that can't be avoided, I would say, but you don't really feel it. You know, in the old car, even if you leave the engine on, idle, you come and sit down and it sort of feels like the whole car is shaking, the whole car is vibrating. You can feel it through the seats, you can feel it through the steering wheel, especially the pedals. With this car, it really feels like it's a very refined 4-cylinder engine even. You step in and yeah, I thought the engine wasn't even on to begin with. Apparently it was. That's how refined it was. And like I said, as you drive along, the noise is there, but the vibrations, the refinement is a lot better than what you would normally think of with a 3-cylinder engine. Now, another thing that is a big improvement is this. Finally, you can adjust the steering wheel up or down. Now, this is the first time in an entry-level A segment hatchback that you can move this up and down. The previous ones were always, you always had a fixed steering wheel. So thankfully, if you are very tall, you can move it up or down to your liking. And another difference is the angle of the steering wheel over here. The old Axia had a bit of too much of an angle on the steering wheel. It's almost like a commercial van, commercial truck kind of feel. This feels a lot more like a conventional car. It's a lot more upright. And as you drive along, as you sit down, it's a little bit closer to you. I think this is a far more comfortable seating position overall. And you know what? Speaking of comfort, let me show you one thing. This is, without a shadow of a doubt, the best seats on a Perodua yet. And I'm including the seats on the Alza, the seats on the Activa as well. This is just a big step forward for Perodua as a whole. They are actually supportive, actually comfortable. Probably the first time ever I've said that for a Perodua seat. And I think it looks good as well. You've got this thick side bolster, sort of look like, you know, racing seats a little bit. And even the details are not bad. You've got leather on the side, you've got this semi-cloth Alcantara thing in the middle, you've got a bit of red piping. You know what? As a car for 50,000 ringgit, I think I can live with this rather than topping up a little bit for a Myvi. Now, I think in that sense, the Myvi is going to have a hard time moving forward over the next 2-3 years before Perodua launches the next generation Myvi, because the Axia is just so good for much cheaper price. Now, I'll show you the back. Now, this is perhaps the one thing that has not really been significantly improved over the old Axia. The legroom and the headroom is pretty much the same as the previous car, but that's not really a bad thing, because if you've ever been in the back of an Axia, you'll know it's just such a big spacious car for a car that's so small on the outside. I just feel it's a little bit disappointing, despite the fact that this is a much bigger car on the outside. The wheelbase is much longer, but the room inside, yeah, feels about the same. The one thing that has been changed is the width of the rear seat. This is now about 40 millimeters, if I'm not mistaken, wider than before. So while you may struggle to fit 3 adults in the back of an old Axia, here is going to be a little bit easier. I don't think it's going to be completely comfortable with 3 in the back, but definitely better than before. Other than that, the seats, yeah, the fronts are great, the rears not so good. As you can see, the backrest is still a little bit too short. It's below my shoulder level even, and I'm not the tallest guy around, 167 centimeters tall. If you're much taller, your shoulder's gonna be like up until here, and yeah, you get zero support on your back, and yeah, it's not great, I would say. One more thing, you've got ISOFIX points, 2 pairs of ISOFIX points at the back, so if you have child seats, that's great for you. As usual, you've also got your tarik hooks on both seats, although unfortunately this again is only on the more expensive models as well. You've also got a handbag hook, a traditional local Perodua option, and that is still there. Now let's take a look at the boot of this car. To open the boot, now there is just an electronic button that you press behind this lever over here instead of an actual physical lever, which is quite nice to use. And in the back, you can see that this is quite a bit bigger than the previous generation. The Axia, for a car of that size, already had a pretty decent boot size, but this is now a big step forward. I don't have the exact dimensions for it, but I did fit like a cabin size bag, and you can actually fit like 4 of them in this car. That is pretty amazing. I don't think now there is a big difference between the boot of the Axia and the Myvi. Another reason why I think choosing between the Axia and the Myvi is gonna be a bit difficult. I myself would probably side with the Axia because it's much cheaper, but it's just as big inside. And you know what? You got a lot more things, a lot more advanced items that are actually in favor of the cheaper car. Okay. Alright, I think I've taken enough of your time. What do you think about this car? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned to paultan.org for everything you need to know about the 2023 Perodua Axia. Thank you for watching.